This is Crick Watch Daily, and welcome back, everyone. You're watching the match preview for Royal Challengers Bengaluru versus Lucknow Super Giants, happening at the M. Chinnaswamy Stadium today at 7:30 p.m. This is Bangalore's second home game of the season. Their first one didn't go to plan, but let's see how they perform this time. They, along with Mumbai Indians, are the only two teams who are yet to win at their home ground this year. So I already posted a video on my fantasy picks and key players that I think will play a role in today's match. I'll try to be more regular with these updates, provided there are more views. Not sure. I think people still like to watch shorter clips, i.e., shorts, but nevertheless. So today, I think we'll discuss Bangalore's batting and then move on from there. So if you look at the key players that I've put out today, there's Maxwell, Green, Virat, and Siraj for RCB. I think to this list you can probably add a Mayank Dagger, who's been phenomenal in the little that he's been able to bowl this season. But coming back to their batting, I think this is something we had discussed in the season preview curtain raiser as well, that though a lot of pundits kept saying the batting looks very strong and it's a phenomenal top six XYZ, you have to look at the circumstances of the top six as well. Faf has been in a poor patch of form since last IPL. He went on to the MLC, he went on to the Caribbean Premier League, he went on to the SA20, and he hasn't been scoring. He's retired from international cricket. Can't blame him. It's not easy to keep up that level of scoring. Last year he had only one score that was lower than either 20 or 30, and him and Virat had amassed over 900 runs in an opening partnership. I think it was tied with the best ever partnership in the history of the IPL. But this year he's just not looking in a good nick, and I don't see that changing much. But the problem then, if you people might say Virat's strike rate. We'll come to that later. But then number 3 is Rajat Patidar, or 4 or 5, wherever he's batting now, who's also been coming from a poor run of form from the tests. I think that's more confidence than form. He'll probably come into his element soon, but he just needs some senior player to put his arm around his shoulder and tell him, this is your role, go own it out there. I don't think shifting his batting order up and down is going to do him a world of favors. And that's what exactly RCB has done. I think that's what's missing in that team right now. So fundamentally, the pressure comes down on Green, Maxi, and Virat. And I don't think Maxwell has yet come to the party. He could come anytime. He's like Dreras. Any day, depending on the way he wakes up or what he's feeling, he could score you a 200, he could score you 100 or 40 balls. But Maxwell is not a doubt. I don't think Green is either a doubt. It's just that there's too much pressure on these 3 players. And what needs to be said is that RCB has always been like that. But 2 out of these 3 cannot be compared to AB de Villiers and Gale. Maybe when last year it was Kohli, Faf and Glenn, it was better because Faf and Kohli were very consistent with their scoring. But I think this year with Green and Maxwell, who are more or less hit or miss, unless you push somebody like Green to open, then maybe you could see him up the ante with scoring. And then you have a DK, Rawat and Mahipal Lomror. And DK is doing what DK can, but you can't expect these 3 to suddenly put up a 50 or a 70 and take that total to a 210, 220. That's what they need. They're not going to do a Russell. They might bat at 150, 160. They're not going to give you the 230, 240 strike rate in the end. DK did have that exceptional season, but it's too much to expect of them as well, coming in and doing the most thankless job in T20 batting. It's finishing off a game. And I think they saved the game in CSK. They might not have won it, but it would have ended far worse than it did. And Mahipal Lomro's blows and DK's blows versus Punjab Kings, which kind of finished the game for them. So it's too much pressure on those 3, and I don't think they're solid enough to bank on, right? I think that's the pressure. And then coming on Virat, all this criticism of his strike rate. See, that's all Virat has always been, right? You know what you get. Maybe when he's chasing, that strike rate can go to a 180, 170. But when he's batting first, and then there's wickets falling in a frenzy at the other end, what do you expect him to do? Not bat conservatively. Um, the aggressive he bats, the higher the risk of another collapse. And probably you might say that, oh, if you're going to spend time on the pitch, either do a 20 from 8 or not a 20 from 17. But it's so 17 balls, or sorry, 30 from 25, something like that, right? But it was extra balls that keep that innings together, because if you hold up one hand at the belief that something else can be done from the other end, or you can score later on, that's what happens when you collapse. And that's the fundamental traditional way of cricket, and that's the culture around which the team is built. So unless you change that, there's no point blaming Virat. His team is built like that, right? So if the power hitters are not going to do their job, and the guy whose job is to hold the innings together can't score at a higher rate, you can't blame him. Granted, he could have gone at a higher rate last match, 137, 80 from 50 balls or 60 balls, something like that, I think it was. Granted, it's not the tempo at which you need to play, but you also have to look at it from the optics that there was complete disarray from the other end. Nobody was scoring. And I think that's where RCB are missing somebody to put up their hand and say that, we'll keep this end up and keep it running. And I think a couple of teams have this problem. Even CSK, if you look at it, they have been challenged with their batting only in one game, and you saw how they could get stuck. But then there are multiple people over there who can do it. Over here, I don't see that multiple people who can do it, because Faf, poor on a form, can't expect him to go out there and start, suddenly come back in good form. And unless Green and Maxwell show up, they're not the kind of guys who score 600-700 runs a season. So maybe they're missing a solid middle order Indian bat who, a number 4, like a proper number 4, like a Rayadu types, or a Nicholas Puran, or a Sky, Tilak Varma, Rishabh Pant types batter over there. And maybe they were hoping that's what Patidar could be, but it's not working out. And if you look at Lucknow's batting, I think they have filled every hole. They have Puran, they have QDK, who's not come to the party yet. It's been a while since Quinton de Kock set the IPL on fire. So it'll be good to see if he can do that tonight. Good pitch, but then he doesn't really have a great matchup with Siraj. And doubtful if he'll be able to make inroads today. But then you have KL Rahul, Devdutt Padikkal, provided he bats at number 3. You'll have a Badoni or a Huda, then a Nicholas Puran, a Marcus Stoinis. No, you can't ask for more with a batting order like that. And I'm not even talking about their finishers, like maybe a Krishnappa Gautam can come in, or a Prerak Mankad can come in. Whoever their finishers can be on a given day. That shows the balance, right? You have solid openers, a solid middle order, and floaters like a Stoinis and a Puran who can go up and down. And there's only one way Nicholas Puran is going to play, right? Even if there is complete strife, he's going to hit that ball out of the park or try getting out doing so. So, and you can't expect a Virat to play like that, because that's not who Virat is. But you expect the remaining 10 people in your team to play like that, because you built your team like that. Lucknow has built their team around a KL Rahul who's going to bat through the innings, or a Devdutt Padikkal who's going to bat through the innings, and the rest of the team will do that, and that's what they do. Or they have a Krunal Pandya coming in at 7, and if you look at Bangalore, they probably, I think, have Lomar or a DK coming in at 7, but it's just not enough, right? And bowling, Lucknow Super Giants, in the meantime, have found another promising talent like Mayank Yadav bowling above 150, while they also already had Ravi Bishnoi in the spin department, a Krunal Pandya offering some more spin than a Yash Thakur or a Mohsin Khan, who they found a couple of seasons ago. Um, and they have like somebody like a Shivam Mabi in the bench, or like someone like a Shamar Joseph sitting in the bench. So when you have a team that has a solid bowling lineup like that, or Naveen Hulak who can come and bowl at the death, right? Who, for all his criticism, he bowls great slower deliveries at the death and manages to pull the tide back in their favor. And it's completely whatever RCB lacks, Lucknow has. RCB's bowling just absolutely baffles me. Like, you look at that team and you say, okay, a spinner who's come to open in the form of Sunil Narayan is whacking you all around the park. Who's your go-to bowler to go and break that partnership? And I think that would have been Josh Hazelwood last year. But if you lost Josh Hazelwood and you knew he's not coming this year, maybe you could have first picked him for the second half of the season. But sometimes these guys, that's what he had said, he won't be available for the first half due to the birth of his child. But sometimes these guys pull out the last minute as well. But they didn't go for anyone else. I mean, it makes no sense. Like, who's that strike bowler that will go and pull? Who's their Bumrah, their Mustafizur, their Chahal, their Bishnoi, or their Kuldeep Yadav? Every team has somebody like this, like a Bhuvneshwar Kumar, even in Sunrisers Hyderabad. Like, you see, every team will have some, like a Rashid Khan, so many. Mohit Sharma come to mind, right? Like, but if you look at Bangalore, maybe they have Vijay Kumar Vishak now, but he's not at that level yet. So it's what baffles me. Like, what did the team management think? Or was Andy Flower, who was brought in this year, was it a stopgap measure? So when you do things like this as far higher pressure, and because of things like this, something like a Virat Kohli's batting keeps getting highlighted, right? Like, it's so ludicrous that I'm not talking about it being a Virat fan or anything like that. Just objectively looking at it, he's doing what he has to do, right? But the remaining part of the team that should have been built in a particular way is not doing what they should do. So you can't blame him. It's like saying a car is not running because the engine is not capable of going fast enough. But then you don't have proper tires. You don't have a proper death bowling who can win you or hold you games. So I think this is fundamentally where RCB are still lacking. I've already said this multiple times, even in the curtain raiser, about this point on how this team is structurally not sound, and it would require something phenomenal from a Virat or one of these guys to have a berserk season that will take them to the playoffs, and then they can have their day. They need like a 2016 Virat Kohli, or like a Joss Butler, or like even last year where a Virat and Faf just were phenomenal. They need something like that. Somebody has to come to the party, and I think one way they can do it is just firm up that batting order a bit more. Maybe throw out an Alzari Joseph, bring in another Indian pacer like Akash Deep, who can do what an Alzari Joseph is doing, and bring in a Will Jacks and just strengthen that batting order. Have maybe Green and Virat open. Have Faf come at number 3, or have Faf and Virat open, Will Jacks at 3 or 4, Green at 3. Something like that. But I don't see, problem is, if you pull Patidar out of his number 3, right, where does he go? Or give him the freedom to bat like what Ajinkya Rahane is. Give him that freedom. Let's say go in. Your only role is just to hit that ball, get out, doesn't matter. Just whack that ball. Do what Rahane did for CSK. Or do what Rohit Sharma does for Mumbai Indians. But I don't know why the Indian batters are struggling, especially the domestic guys who do well. And shuffling Green up and sending Patidar down makes no sense. Like, let Patidar come at 3, early wicket. So what? Let him come. Give him the freedom to go for the ball. Go for it, right? And then Green can come at 4, and so on. But I think there's just And it's Andy Flaw, but you don't expect him to, do mistakes like this. Technically, this Lucknow team that's there was put together by Andy Flaw and Gambhir, right? So let's see how they do it. Like, I think there will be some games that Bangalore will win because of individual performances. Spectacular. They're not gonna be so bad that they'll be like this wooden spoon, but it's very difficult to see how they go to the playoffs unless something else comes in the team. I think if they had like the batting much stronger, then they can just go for it every match and outbat their opposition. Because at this point, I fail to see what an Alzari Joseph adds in terms of value to that team, or what. Even if he takes a 5-wicket haul today, but what is he going to do for the next 6-7 games? You need to win 8 games at least with a 10 team to go to the playoff. Or last year, I think even 7 made it. But you need to win 5-6 games from here onwards. So how do you get that done, right? So that's what I see. I hope they figure out, because you want to see a great RCB for the tournament, right? They're that team, flamboyance, loudness that lights the tournament up. They play at one of the best stadiums in the country, have one of the best fan bases in the country, so you need them to fire. And I hope that happens. But this year seems kind of difficult. I think maybe they'll go for a complete reset next year, and then see where to take it from there. But I think there's something maybe about the culture of building the team around Virat either needs to change, or if you're building it around him and you truly build the team around him such that it covers for his weaknesses, and he's not he can bat at any given strike rate, but there are times where he's not going to be able to. So you need somebody else. Like, they had a Nicholas Puran, they had a Finn Allen in the past, they've had a Hetmeyer in the past. There's something that's wrong, I think, over there in terms of culture, or just thinking, and I can't blame that on the players. I don't think it's their fault at all. I don't think you can ever fault Virat Kohli for not doing enough. I think he does far more than that franchise has ever given him, right? He's given far more to the team. So I think maybe they look like they're doing a lot and being very grateful to Virat, and he's the face of the franchise, but I feel like they should be doing a lot more for him by truly giving him a squad that can go for the title. And maybe they need a captain who's more involved in the Indian domestic scene, or knows what is happening in India. Then they need some Indian presence over there. Like when they had a Sanjay Bangar or something like that is just missing, like a touch of reality in. And they have great Indian seam bowlers, to be honest. I think they have a better Indian seam bowling attack than many teams do. They have an Akash Deep, Vijay Kumar, Vishak, Yash Dayal. 3 out of, I think, the 5 players who the BCCI has given fast bowling contracts to are with RCB. And yet, this is the team that is struggling when it comes to bowling, which means that they just needed one more spinner over there. That's it. Maybe they even a Piyush Chawla or somebody like, they can't go for a Chahal, but you see what is missing exactly, right? So that's my take on the game. Let's catch up post the game and see how it goes.